Cindy Gladue's mother and her daughters and her family are going to have to go through this horrific trial all over again. That's not a happy result for anybody, but in terms of the injustices that happen below, the fact that the justice system will attempt to correct, that's a good thing, but there's no really good answer here. This horror show continues. There are no pieces of evidence that go in that assume that she would have consented or assume that she is not to be believed. And there is a whole way to filter that evidence before it goes before the jury, and none of that was brought into play in this trial. And that is the reason that the courts have said that infected or permeated the entire trial, and so that's the reason they're sending it back down to be retrialed. There was a major issue that happened at this trial, which was the introduction of Cindy's body parts as evidence. This was the single issue that shocked women, I think actually everybody across the whole country, and not one of the judges even addressed that issue. They all ducked it, and to my mind that is very disturbing. It allows the criminal justice system to continue to use Indigenous women's body parts as evidence. It allows the state to continue to cut up women's bodies and serve them up on a platter that somebody calls justice. I don't.
When Indigenous women are brought in as victims to many of these kinds of incidents, that they're often perceived as almost like they're the criminal, and that they have to defend themselves. And Cindy in her death couldn't defend herself. So we're grateful that there's going to be some seeking justice for Cindy and her family. We do really feel a lot of sorrow in the fact that their family has to even face this a second time around.
I think it's a step forward that the court has recognized that in cases of sexual assaults involving Indigenous women and girls, that there's an obligation on courts, on judges, to be gatekeepers, to ensure that bias, prejudice, racism, and sexism do not form part of the evidence, are not what juries and judges rely on to make their decisions. This is a big step forward. And we heard from women across this country that when they encounter the criminal justice system, they are often reduced to their stereotypes, reduced to prejudice, and they do not get the justice that other Canadians get from the system.